Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
All right, let's welcome everybody out today to episode 339 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris.
And my name's Chrissy.
Hey, we're of course recording today out of our awesome podcast studio at Access Co-working Space, right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, right on the corner of 200 and 200. If you guys get the opportunity to come on down here, check it out. This place is awesome.
And if this is your first time listening to us, you're probably wondering what this podcast is. We actually are here to showcase all the awesome people in Salt Lake City. Musicians, artists, business owners, restaurant owners, bartenders, really anyone that might have a cool story.
Like today on the podcast, we get to sit down and have a great conversation with local Salt Lake City MD, Rick Henriksen.
Rick has a great story, and we're going to get into that. This is actually the first time we've had an MD on this podcast. Rick shared his story of what led him down the path to get his MD and eventually open up Kestrel Wellness here in Salt Lake City. He has a bit of a different approach than your regular family doctor, and we're going to get into that here in just a second.
But before we jump into the interview, of course, we got to give some love to our sponsors. You guys, these guys are awesome. Market Source Real Estate, Product Power Up, and Five Wives Vodka. We're going to be telling you more about them a little bit later on in the podcast. But it is my favorite time of the year here in Salt Lake City. I got to talk about Farmers Market. I love this place. You guys know that already. And if you have never had the chance to visit the downtown Salt Lake City Farmers Market, please do yourself a favor and go check it out. It is happening every Saturday right now until October 20th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Historic Pioneer Park right downtown. Tons of local artisans that are making some amazing things and local farmers selling the best produce that you're ever going to taste. And we're actually going to be there a handful of Saturdays through the season. So you're going to want to make sure you're connected with us on social media of some sort. That way you can keep up to date on the dates that we're going to be there.
All right, let's get into that conversation we had with Rick Henriksen, or as we like to call him, Dr. Rick, when he came over to our podcast studio to share his story. Enjoy.
You know, this has been a fun question to start the shows out. What did your childhood smell like?
My childhood, oh man. So I grew up out in kind of West Jordan Kearns and just the county area out there. There was a lot of weeds, a lot of dirt. And really, I grew up in just the smell of like the dust storms. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's almost like the rain and the dust and all of that's my memory of growing up.
That sounds like you had a fun childhood,
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Like you're outside doing stuff.
Oh yeah, our little BMX gang up and down the hills there and what's now all malls and.
So you grew up
suburbia.
right here in Utah.
Oh yeah, I grew up here.
Did you ever take off, move away? See, I'm out of here. That's because I did that when I was younger.
Yeah. No, I'm a local. I've gone back. I've gone away. I've come back a few times. I lived in New York. That's where I went to school in the Bronx. So very different than Salt Lake, where I grew up.
Now, what kind of school did you go to? Because you're technically a medical doctor, right?
Yeah, I am a medical doctor. I went to medical school, regular old medical school.
We have never. I don't think we've ever had a medical doctor on the podcast.
No, this is pretty prestigious.
Well, for me, that's what's prestigious. I got to be with you guys.
So you went to school in the Bronx. And
went to school in the Bronx at a school called Albert Einstein.
What did you think of it compared to Utah, man?
So I really wanted to go to New York. I grew up traveling quite a bit, and I'd been to New York a few times, and so I applied to a lot of schools in New York, and then I got in. And so I was really excited about going out to the big city, and I loved living in the Bronx. It was a fantastic experience to be able to do new things. Every day you got to try something new. But it was also hard for me because the mountains weren't around. And I know that's a big thing that people always say, I miss the mountains, but I really did. I missed the outdoors. I missed being able to get up to the tops of the peaks. And it was hard for my health, actually. So I was pretty stressed out. And I
living in New York made you stressed out, or the school made you stressed out?
So living in New York and going to school at the same time, I didn't have the same outlets that I had. I didn't have the hiking and the biking that I was able to usually do. And so that actually put me kind of in a tailspin with my own health during medical school.
Sure.
And but I loved living there, but I was really happy to come back west.
Did you say how long you lived out there?
So I was there for about 4 years for school.
Okay.
Yep.
Growing up, did you always want to be a doctor? Was that kind of your dream?
Yeah, it was. Actually, I'm one of those few lucky ones that I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was 12 or 13. I kind of made that decision that I wanted to be a doctor. And it was easy for me at that point because I was able to kind of set up, and I love to plan out. I love to plan things. And so I knew exactly what classes to take in junior high to get prepared for high school, to get prepared for college, to get right into medical school. So I never had that question of like, what class do I take next? Or what do I want to be? I always kind of knew.
Did you ever change your mind during the process?
I didn't. It was always
Really?
self-reinforcing because
Okay.
I knew I thought that I wanted to do that. And then the classes that I took, I really enjoyed the physiology, but I also enjoyed the talking and the communication and the anthropology and those kinds of aspects of medicine also, that one-on-one talking with people. And it really just reinforced each other. That's really what I wanted to do.
So let's fast forward a little bit to Kestrel Wellness, right?
Yeah.
That's where your practice is. That's your deal, right?
That is, yep.
You started it.
So I started about 6 months ago. We started in kind of the fall, late summer.
So wait, you didn't start it right after school then? Like right after
Yeah. So this is a new thing for me. This is almost like a kind of a second career, a little bit of what I'm doing now.
Where did you go right after school then? Like right at a hospital or a doctor's office?
Yeah, so after medical school, you start a residency. So I came back to Salt Lake City and did my residency at the University of Utah.
Okay.
And so that's a 3-year experience for family medicine residents. So I was in a clinic up by the university. That's where I was learning and doing all my studies for that kind of post medical school time.
And because you were practicing like traditional. Because Kestrel
general?
Wellness isn't traditional medicine,
Correct,
man.
yeah. So,
And that's what, like, most doctors, like, I grew up, my mom was always, like, the health nut, right? Like, I was born at home in the 70s.
Okay.
I grew up, I didn't eat a steak until I was, like, 24 years old,
bless your heart.
right?
It's too bad.
Like, I grew up, like, my mom was always, we didn't go to we weren't allowed to go to doctors, man. Like, she went to, like, some weird nature health doctor,
Homeopathic doctors.
He was a made up doctor in California. No, but you know what I mean? Back in like the 80s and 90s, it was like health food stores were frowned upon.
Yeah.
Your mom she was cutting edge.
She was.
Is what she was.
She was. We had
20 years
goats
ahead of it.
and goats and chickens.
Well, see, my mom was a nurse, so I grew up with like, here, take these drugs. Here, take these drugs. This will fix it.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah.
they
And
do
so,
Okay, so you guys have actually brought up the perfect because
We
I am
grew up
sitting in the
polar
middle
opposite.
of you. And actually, this is what I like to tell people is that I am kind of in the middle of both of those worlds. So I have that holistic side, and I'm trained in integrative medicine. So I use botanical medicines, I use herbal supplements, those kinds of things. But then I also have the ability to use medications.
but what got you, my curiosity, man, is what got you into more the natural side of things? Because that isn't,
It's unusual for doctors.
So what's you want to hear my story? You want to hear the path?
Yeah, sorry. I'll let you.
Okay, should I give you my story?
Yeah,
Okay,
do
so
it.
you want it from the beginning?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so this is what happened. So I came back from the Bronx to Utah, and I was sick. I was unhealthy. I had high blood pressure. I wasn't happy, and I went through residency. That first year of residency is a really tough year. And I decided that I needed to make a change because I was telling all these people that they needed to be healthy, and I didn't feel healthy myself. And so I decided to buy a bike. I bought a mountain bike at REI, and I remember riding with my friends just in the trails here, and it was tough. But I got on the bike, I tried riding, and then a friend of mine invited me to do a triathlon. And so then I went to my first triathlon, and I just loved this experience. It was up in the one of the reservoirs, and it was hard, it was fun, and I just loved it. The atmosphere, the people, that everyone was working towards a goal of health. And I felt like I'd finally found kind of a people that I wanted to be a part of.
Sure.
And so I made that big change. Then after that, I started learning about nutrition. I started learning about health. And that was all for performance of me trying to improve my own health and get better and faster for triathlon. And so then over the years, as I was learning more about nutrition, I started doing CrossFit, and I started learning about different nutritional lifestyles. And that's when I said, you know what, the world is much bigger than what I had learned in medical school and than what I was practicing with my current patients. And so then I just started learning. I started on my own, going to conferences and learning on my own about what it is. If someone has a thyroid problem, I don't just give a medicine. What is the fundamental problem going on with that thyroid? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's really where it started. As I started seeing all these benefits with my patients then, and myself at the same time. So it was really physician heal thyself.
Yeah.
And I had to figure that out on my own. And I figured out, you know what, Western medicine has a lot of really good things, but a lot of things that it wasn't good at. are things that I need to improve on.
Do you feel that like you're kind of lied to though at medical school a little bit, like with how like there's a lot of cures for things out there that we just don't know, that are there, but they're afraid to teach it because they don't want to. Everything is pushing prescription drugs, man.
I have a
like
I don't think
even down to like marijuana legalization, man.
These guys are going to start fighting here in the room. I'm going to have to break this up.
But the thing
You're here to be our mediator.
most of the reasons stuff like even like marijuana, and maybe you don't want to touch it. I can respect.
Oh no, we can talk about that.
But it's because you guys would lose half of your prescriptions that you guys are writing for depression, anxiety, sleep. All that stuff.
Yeah, for
man.
sure. The kind of traditional Western medicine that we've been learning over the last 50 years has very much been driven to disease-oriented problems and organ systems and pills, right? So so there's definitely an issue there, and I think that there is movement. So in the medical school now, we have a culinary medicine elective and a program. So things are starting to swing back, but
culinary medicine, is that like food?
Yeah, cooking, like how, like we teach physicians and medical students how to cook so they can teach their patients how to cook, right? So right now, come out of medical school and as a resident, and you know that like, oh, I need to tell people they need to eat healthier and work out, and that's kind of where the training ends. And so there isn't a lot that goes past that. And so that's what I had to learn on my own, was what to do with that small like sentence, expand that and really help my patients get that. So I think I wouldn't say we were lied to in medical school, but we were missing part of what
I'm sure you don't want to
needed.
talk bad about it either.
Can I say something?
No, I mean there's a lot of problems.
Sorry,
no, you're fine.
I'm being a mic hog
you're
over
fine.
here.
But I don't think that purposely the medical community is lying and covering up and just pushing pills and everything. I think there's always some of that to an extent, but I think Western medicine just kind of started growing and snowballing and being able to cure things that weren't curable when there wasn't Western medicine. And then, you know, the pendulum just kind of swung in the other direction.
I don't know, man.
Okay, we can fix it. And then the nutritional side of things just kind of got neglected.
But look at obesity.
Yeah,
all of that.
But the science is always changing, right? Like right now you're doing the keto diet.
Yeah.
20 years ago, that would have been the worst thing ever. Remember, like,
but why? But would it have been? Would it have been? I mean, that was the typical. I mean, look at back even the cavemen.
No,
I mean,
remember the American Health. But I'm saying, like, when the American Heart Association came out, when that dude came out and attacked McDonald's, and and they started saying anti-fats, and so science is always changing.
Time out. It's my turn to talk, guys.
This is fun. Okay,
Rick, I love it.
So what happened?
You're perfect.
What happened is that we started learning really cool science.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if you guys know this, but we as Americans especially love new shiny things.
Sure.
The new iPhone, the new bike, the new car, right? And so this new science that we were able to learn, and we really started going in depth on each of these microscopic processes, and we lost sight of the forest. We lost sight of the big picture. And so I think that's really what happened is, like, I think both of actually what you guys are saying is true, is that we started going down this path of this disease-oriented process because we could find these really exciting solutions. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we had this really big, larger aspect of our health that we've forgotten, and now we're relearning in our medical system. And I think that's where we can use some of these other medical systems, like Chinese medicine and other medicines that were in other areas of the world. We bring those back in to what we're doing, and we try to blend those and bring both of them that are going to work for most people. But you're right that the science is always changing. I used to tell people this. Well, I still do. 40 years ago, we were telling people to stop eating fat and stop eating eggs. And I think that honestly was probably the biggest mistake that we made as kind of this medical community. And I think it's really made a lot of harm for a lot of folks, and this fat phobia and sugar free and the 80 calorie snack wells, little packets that were geared towards health. But at the same time, it is also part of this larger system of trying to free us from the kitchen, right? So in the 70s and 80s, we had this, like, you can use the microwave. I don't have to cook anymore. And we started leaving, right? So we started doing all this fast food, right? That became such a popular thing.
Women got jobs.
Right. We got jobs, right? So, but what happened is that we lost sight of all the great benefits. And now that's where we're bringing this back in. We're like, oh, now we have these beautiful kitchens, and we're learning how to cook again. And it's becoming part of the family instead of just the reliance of health on the mother of the family. Now it's a more communal And hopefully the fathers are also taking more lead on that cooking and helping out
but
as well.
look at things like Blue Apron. Is it Blue Apron
Blue
that you can
Apron,
like get your
Sunbasket.
dinners sent to you in a box, man?
Yeah, but it's all fresh ingredients. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I don't
'cause
know,
this is
man.
fun.
So here's the deal. So I
But-
think you can use all these tools. So there are also food service companies, right? So you'll have a
Right.
chef that cooks your food and delivers it to you. Actually, I did this when I was first making changes a long time ago. I actually had that, and it really helped me because I was a bachelor. I was in school. I had zero idea how to cook, and I'm still not that great of a cook, but it helped me give me ideas, and it jump started what I needed to do to learn how to do those things. So you can use those as tools, but I think over reliance on some of those things can also be harmful long term. And we really should learn where our food's coming from, how it's prepared, where do we get our meat, where do we get, that packaged something, and learning more about that as a whole can help us understand better what we need to do to be healthy.
I feel like even science and medicine and everything is kind of like the fashion industry, where stuff kind of goes out of fashion and then you realize it was good, so you bring it back into fashion. You just like relearn. It's like cyclical.
Well, no, and I agree. I mean, things change. I mean, I used to be a crazy vegan, man, for like 7 years. I was like vegan. I'm going to raise my kids vegan. I'm going to be vegan. I mean, I got a vegan tattoo on my leg. Like, you know what I mean? On my big.
You have to change that into Vega or something.
Well, no, man. It was a part of who I was.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I think it's important.
It's your story, right? And that's okay.
Exactly.
It's great to have a story.
Exactly.
Because that explains where you are now today and the choices you've made today.
Which is the keto diet, which
right.
You were mentioning before you came in here. I don't know if this would be a good segue to
this
talk
is great.
about
Let's
it.
talk about it.
At Kestrel Wellness, which I want to get into kind of your model. I mean, you have an interesting model with memberships and all of that. We're going to definitely get into that here at some point. I know it, but let's talk. So you deal more natural side of things. Or you try to. Not always.
I mean, exactly. Not
like
always.
Preventative, right?
So preventative. If someone needs to make changes, or they need to they need to get healthier, right? I have a lot of tools available, and I use those tools. So the first is that foundation of health. So sleep, exercise, stress reduction, learning how to breathe better, the nutrition. Obviously, that's the foundation. A lot of times, just doing those. And really setting a great foundation can solve the problem for somebody. Now, if that doesn't work, then the next step is looking at some of these tools that we have in holistic medicine. So we can try meditation, we can try botanical medicines, we can try different teas and things like that we can use to then help somebody in a more natural way. And if those don't work, then we rely on the synthetic medication, so blood pressure medication, those kinds of things. But I think it's all about setting up that foundation first. And so, going back to that keto diet, and keto diet I think is a tool, right? So there's a lot of different variations on nutrition. And so for some folks, really trying to decrease the amount of carbohydrate they're taking in a drastic level to get them into ketosis can actually provide some great benefits for them to not just lose weight, but have clearer thinking, to have more energy. And that can be really helpful and important for some folks, right? So, but it's a tool that is not always appropriate for everybody. But for you, it sounds like it's been working great.
It has. It's tough because it's a lot of people like where I'm at now is how a lot of people knew me weight wise, right? But for some reason, I blew up just massively.
Because you married me.
Well, I married Chrissy, right? All of a sudden, we have 3 kids at home. She had 3 kids from another marriage. And, stress went up. Cookies, bread, cereals, right? Even though I was doing the gluten-free thing, I was still consuming a lot of carbs, a lot of spaghettis, pastas.
You brought a lot of Lucky Charms, that's gluten-free home, and Cocoa Krispies.
And just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean it's the best.
Lucky Charms, super healthy, gluten-free.
Lucky Charms is a full-on gluten-free diet, you guys. That's my favorite.
Well, it's almost like the same thing. You can be vegan, but you can be like, you can be ramen
a Triscuit
noodles all day long. Triscuit vegan, right? Yeah. So there's, and that's you like you said, you started making those changes, but you have this great story because there are so many people just like you that have gone through that stress. And so what, I actually probably the population that I love to work with the most, but I work with all folks, but the folks that are like me. So the 30 to 40-year-old stressed out guys that are dads that have been gaining weight and not being, those are the people that I relate to. And it's really fun to help them kind of get back on track because they want to be around for their kids. They want to be around for their family. They want to be able to go hiking with their kids when they're 60 or whatever that is. And they see that trajectory where they're on, and they see that's not going to happen unless they make a change.
Yeah, well, and that's because I'm 40, right? I turned 40 last December. And that's where, with the baby coming, we have a 10-month-old daughter. And with her coming, I'm like, I have this gym membership that I'm not doing anything with. And December 6th, as of December 6th, I've been going to the gym, 5-6 days a week, every day, man.
That's
I
great.
get up and I go. I do about an hour of cardio. I started the keto diet. Now, granted, some people come in, they're like, oh, I've lost, 40 pounds in a month. I wasn't 350 pounds, right? Like I was 230, right? Now I'm 193, right?
Well, it's not also just the weight loss, right?
Yeah.
So you're transforming a lot of that body fat into muscle and strength as well.
That's the thing is, I mean, I still got my little, dad bod belly going on. I'm
just
trying
let
to
you know,
work
listeners,
on.
she's grabbing his belly and kind of shaking it a little bit.
I still got to get rid of that. I'm working on that,
It won't go away until mine goes away.
Yeah,
So.
but well, what are your thoughts? Because I have never been doing the keto diet. Reminded me of veganism. There are so many people that it's like that's so unhealthy. Oh, that's so this, but yet it's only people here in Utah. Right. I have friends outside of Utah that did the keto diet and they're like, man, no one ever ridiculed me and got on my diet. Why are people doing it, especially in Utah here?
I wouldn't honestly say it's just in Utah. So I have connections and I know folks kind of nationwide and worldwide. And there is definitely, when you start something that's different, I think people obviously want to criticize that because it's almost like an attack on them.
Sure.
I'm not keto. And so they're trying to say that the way I'm eating is not right. And honestly, when we talk about nutrition, it's almost like we're talking about religion. As you guys know in our community, that's a big topic. So nutrition's another one that's similar like that. It almost becomes a religious identity for a lot of people. And so when you bring in different thoughts, it's almost like you're attacking their identity. And so that's what's hard is you really do want to say, you know what? I'm doing this lifestyle. It's working great for me. If you want to try it, that's great, but let me do my thing.
Yeah, man, leave me alone.
And it'll work, right? And it's hard because we should be supporting people. We should be helping people instead of really kind of always chipping away at their confidence.
When I was vegan 20 years ago, I noticed the same thing. Now veganism is like, oh, everybody. I mean, come on, Bill Clinton's a vegan, right?
Yeah.
Wait, Bill Clinton's a vegan?
Yeah, well, I think so, isn't he?
Well, he did go very plant-based after.
It's just a lot more popular. I mean, I remember being excited when I flew on an airplane. Oh my God, they serve a vegan meal on an airplane, right? Like
and now it's more mainstream.
I mean, you can go every restaurant.
Well, that's also potentially in the circles you run into. So it depends on where you're living and where you're working out. But in a lot of places, veganism is still seen as pretty.
Do you work with a lot of vegans?
I have several vegan patients. It's not. I don't have a ton. But I do work with them to help them out because like you said, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, obviously, for vegan patients that they need some support. And I'm glad to help them kind of figure that out as well. And I'm not someone that is really pushy on my nutrition lifestyle. So I eat a certain way, but I think there's a large variety that we need to personalize. I do have a way that I think is probably the best to eat and it works for me and it works for the majority of folks that I work with. But I think, if people have a decision to make and if they are vegan for a specific reason, that's great. I'll work with them to get them as healthy as possible.
Yeah.
And that, that maybe that's maybe going from, the Triscuit to the carrot kind of veganism, and we can work on more of a whole foods kind of vegan diet.
Let's hold the thought. We need to take a break to play a message from our sponsors. Hold that thought though. I want to talk more about this when we come back. So hang tight. We'll be back in a couple of minutes here. All right, guys, it's that time of the podcast where we take just a couple minutes of your time, tell you about our awesome sponsors. These are some great local businesses that are helping support the podcast. So when you go out of your way to support them, you're actually supporting I Am Salt Lake Podcast. Hey, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Market Source Real Estate.
If you're like me and you love the charm and character of all the older homes in this greater Salt Lake area, you need to contact our friends Monique and Jeremy Higginson of Market Source Real Estate.
For the past 17 years, they've been specializing in helping people buy and sell homes in Sugar House and Salt Lake City area.
They have a background of flipping houses, and they've owned almost 24 homes themselves, so they know all the ins and outs of older homes.
If you're looking to sell your home, Market Source Real Estate specializes in helping sellers update or repair their homes to increase the value and make the sellers more money.
And if you're looking to buy an old home, they know exactly what to look for in older homes, so you don't end up buying a money pit. You can find their info at thinksaltlakecity.com today or call 801-810-6773.
Again, the website, thinksaltlakecity.com, or give them a call at 801-810-6773. And many thanks to Market Source Real Estate for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. All right, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by the very delicious, the very awesome Five Wives Vodka. You know, okay, if you're out of state, let's say Texas, go ahead, drink your Tito's, you guys. But if you're here in Salt Lake City, you better be drinking Five Wives Vodka. So the next time you go visit your local bar, ask for Five Wives Vodka. The next time you go to the state liquor store, ask for Five Wives Vodka. They actually have 3 different flavors that Chrissy and I are going to tell you about. I'm going to have her tell you about the original one because this is the one, she uses it all the time at home. I'm serious. Like
Don't tell them about my alcohol problem.
Big bottles of it in our cupboards.
He's kind of not kidding, you guys. The original is absolutely my favorite. The original Five Wives Vodka is made from Utah mountain spring water. It's 100% distilled corn spirit, and it's gluten-free. The spring is hidden in beautiful Ogden Canyon and is inaccessible by vehicle, so the water is actually hiked out 5 gallons at a time.
They have the Five Wives Sinful. This is a flavored vodka with a delicious cinnamon taste. This is one of my favorites. Unlike other cinnamon products that give you that cinnamon candy taste, Sinful is like a morning cinnamon roll with only 76 calories per ounce.
And then they have the Five Wives Heavenly, which is a flavored vodka with a delicious vanilla taste. Heavenly's rich buttery flavor comes through without coating your taste buds with sugar, and this results in more vanilla and less calories.
Head on over to their website, fivewivesvodka.com. This is where you can find out more information about them. You can get recipes, connect with them, all that good stuff. And remember, the next time you go visit your bar, ask for Five Wives Vodka by name, or when you go to the state liquor store, ask for Five Wives Vodka. And of course, many thanks to Five Wives Vodka for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. This episode of the podcast is also sponsored by Product Power Up. This is the best and biggest conference geared solely to product people and the companies they create, and it's back this year and it's ready to put on a great show. Product Power Up is happening September 20th and the 21st at the Mountain America Expo Center, located at 9575 South State Street in Sandy. Product Power Up is put on in partnership by the guys at Blacksmith International and FiberFix. These guys got together and decided that enough was enough, that there was simply no community that catered to non-technical founders of product companies, so they went ahead and decided to make one. This event is for anyone who identifies as a product person. It is not another tech conference. It is not a simple networking event. It is not simply an entrepreneur event. It is 2 days, that's right, 2 days of incredible content from some of the top product pros in the business, along with great networking opportunities and product showcases. If you have launched a product, if you have worked with product, if you buy product, if you sell product, or anything else related to products, you need to plan on being here.
I love that they're doing this because I know we've all had those moments where we have this amazing product idea and we want to make it, but we don't really have the resources and we don't know where to go. This is exactly the perfect place for people like us.
All right, guys, head on over to their website, productpowerup.com. This is where you can purchase tickets. You can see who's speaking. You can see the panelists. Or if you're just a little bit curious and you want to find out more information about this incredible 2-day event that's happening September 20th and the 21st at the Mountain America Expo Center, again, the website is productpowerup.com. And of course, many thanks to Product Power Up for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. So I wanted to bring it up before we went to a sponsor break. It's interesting how we were kind of talking about people ridiculing other people's diet. So I had a job working in a warehouse here in Salt Lake, and all the guys would hassle me because every day I would bring a salad into work, right? I would eat this salad, and usually I'd put chicken on it or something like that. Oh, you know, that's so unhealthy just to be eating that. But then they would run to Carl's Jr. and get a big burger every day from Carl's Jr. It's like, why? How? What? You know, like, why does everybody else think their diet's the best and they got to I don't know.
No,
Anyway.
it's the group mentality. People like to be seen as part of the group.
Yeah.
And so when someone's not doing the thing that's part of the group, they see that as almost kind of
you're
an
better.
attack,
You're
right?
better than
You're trying to be better
us,
than
yeah.
us. And even if you're not, but it happens, it happens in all kinds of group formation, but it's unfortunate, right? It's the same thing when you go to you go to a birthday party or you go to a dinner and there's traditional dessert, right? And
dessert.
one of my favorite things is having that dessert with my friends and family, and I really love that. But at the same time, we've created this like unhealthy cultural expectation that everybody needs to eat it.
Yeah.
And so
Food is ritualistic.
yeah, it's this ritual.
Yeah.
And if you decide, I'm going to pass on your brownies or whatever, and you don't want to offend somebody, and so it's this hard balance because it is this cultural expectation, and I really wish it wasn't. I wish it was. We could just let people not eat that food and be okay with it. And so I think we're getting better at that, but I think we have a long way to go to try to reformat that cultural expectation around sugar, especially.
I have one more question on the keto diet. Then I want to get into the Kestrel Wellness Center that you're at and the model of it and everything. Since you've worked with people on the keto diet, I don't know how long you've worked with them or whatever, but you hear about all these things, how, we got to make sure we're taking potassium and magnesium and electrolytes and all that. Would you say what are some things that I need to watch out? I'm getting a little free advice here, right? I'm going to take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of this. So what are some things I need to watch out for or do or make sure I'm getting?
So you did list a few good things that were in there. So I think one of the biggest issues is making sure your gut health stays great. So going keto, you can actually do really good things to help you heal your gut. But at the same time, if you go too long without good fibers, then the gut bacteria can actually go from a healthy bacteria to you can kind of lose what's going on there. So sometimes you have to add in some fiber into your diet to make sure that you're able to maintain your gut bacteria.
You mentioned that, and it's interesting because I actually believe I already have bad gut health. I believe that's where a lot of my digestive issues.
That's one of the main causes of all of these kinds of issues is that gut health.
What is it? Leaky gut syndrome.
Leaky gut and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I have countless patients that I work with on both of those, and that's something that leads to all kinds of different things, from brain fog to hypothyroidism to all kinds of other symptoms that kind of stem from that inability of your gut to function the way it's best functioning. So that's one thing. If someone that's on ketos, we should monitor that and we should try to look at that. The other thing is trying to do keto with endurance athletes can sometimes be harder, and because there is a great benefit in a lot of folks for keto in athletes, but sometimes they
need that carbs.
Yeah, so your carbs, we sometimes need to actually add even more carbohydrates into people's diets, because if you have too low carb and you're doing too much output, then sometimes we can depress thyroid, we can depress some of these hormones. And so we just need to make sure we're aware of what your carbohydrate level is for folks.
Interesting. What are some good like when you say more fiber, just more like vegetables?
Potato starch, sweet potato, all these things that do sometimes have quite a bit of carbohydrate. So tapioca can be used. Some of those that are those kinds of starches, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And another name, we call them prebiotics, another term that we call them before.
Is apple cider vinegar a prebiotic or a probiotic?
Neither, is it?
Doesn't it have prebiotic?
No.
It's not either of those, but it can be used in
someone told me it was, so they lied.
Oh my gosh. I cannot believe someone didn't know something.
How
I
much
bet they
did you
read it on
pay
the
them?
internet.
And then they told you something that wasn't true? I've never heard that before.
Let's get into Kestrel Wellness because I'm fascinated by this.
You got it.
So you're the only one there? Or
So it's just me. I'm a sole provider.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning of the show, I started this up late summer. And my transition, I was in a traditional clinic, seeing patients on every 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I just didn't feel like I was able to really help people on a fundamental level. And so I wanted to try this new model that's called direct primary care. And this is a model where instead of using insurance, I directly contract with my patients. So I cut out a lot of the kind of the excess, cutting off the fat off the meat of things that we don't really. Well, we actually do want the meat fat. So that's a terrible analogy I was going to use right now.
Cut the tendons off.
Cutting that would be anyway. So removing the excess.
We want it all
from the system, because as we know, that's one of the biggest problems with our medical system is we have too many people involved, too much bureaucracy and administration, and not enough people that are actually doing the health part of it. So by removing that whole insurance outlook, I can take care of patients for pretty cheap, but at the same time having a comfortable salary and providing super high quality care for my patients. And so I'm able to charge kind of not exorbitant prices, because I am keeping all of that money rather than having to spread that out to all the administrators, all the different folks. But I'm still able to provide a super high quality product for my patients.
So you don't deal with insurance at all?
I don't deal with insurance at all.
So I can't come to you with our insurance?
Exactly. That's a question people always ask. Exactly. So I don't take insurance. So that's exactly right. So I pay. So people come to me.
Lost a customer.
Let's just cancel our insurance and just go to him.
There you go. So that's what I always tell people is like, okay, so I know that you have insurance right now.
Yeah.
If you are happy and you have a great doctor and you feel like you're getting great care, then that's great. If you are somebody that doesn't feel like you're getting good care, they're not responding to you, you're not able to text them. If there's an emergency, they're not able to provide that service to you quickly.
Wait.
If you call
text
in, you can text me.
Just like, hey, what's up?
He may not respond.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in Chris's case, I will, but no, I have a dedicated secure app. My patients text me. So today I was working with a patient that he had a cold, cough, that kind of stuff, and was trying to figure out if he needed antibiotics or not. So we were texting kind of throughout the day. I had him do kind of this series of questions. He took video of his cough. He sent that in. And so we can actually have this really cool system that I can take care of patients without them having to leave their bedroom. So instead of going and waiting at the doctor's office for 2 hours, you can text me a few questions. We can get on the phone, we can do telemedicine, and I can take care of you right there and then instead of waiting for 2 days or something to get in to see your doctor.
Do you ever feel like you could possibly get overstretched or have too much happening at one time and not be able to provide?
So that's a possibility. And so there are systems. So when that comes to happen, I'll hire other staff to help me out, like a medical assistant or a nurse.
Okay.
Other providers. So, but at the same time, so right now, most family doctors are taking care of around 2,000 patients. So anywhere from 1,600 to 2,000 patients is what an average family doctor is taking care of, like in their panel. In this model, taking care of 400 to 600 patients is a very doable thing. So you're talking about a far fewer number. You're not necessarily having to bring everybody into the clinic all the time. And especially because we've changed the way that I get paid, it changes the way that I can deliver care. So for example, in your insurance, you have a doctor, right? So that doctor gets paid only when you go in and see her in the clinic. So you have this incentive as a doctor to then have people come into your clinic because that's the only time that you really get paid. And as a patient, your incentive is to not use your doctor because you are paying the copays and all this stuff. And if we change those incentives, instead of you've already paid your monthly fee, so you've paid your $150 or whatever your monthly fee is for this kind of care, and your incentive is to use it as much as possible. So you're gonna search out and get healthy. You're gonna try to use it because you've had a gym membership, right, or a ski pass.
Yeah.
Everyone's had a ski pass for the year, and they go skiing more often. If you buy the punch pass, you're always saving it up, right? You don't want to use your ski or your whatever it is. You don't want to use that up. So we've changed that, and as the doctor, I've already been paid. So my incentive is to keep you healthy and not necessarily have you come in. So we can do different things like I do seminars. I teach groups of patients together. You can host people in different ways. I can right now. We have a system where I sometimes work out with my patients. So there's different ways that we can see folks, right? I go on walks. I'll see them in the park, right? So the things that we can do that changes this whole dynamic because I don't just have to get paid. I don't get paid only when I see a patient. I get paid monthly, so I can do a lot of really cool things with my patients.
And your patients are probably very proactive in their health, like in their own personal health, which I think most Americans, is that bad of me to say that we're probably not?
Yeah, I think
because who cares? We can go to the doctor when it gets bad.
Yeah, when it gets bad, you can go in, and that's where we're trying to prevent the things from happening, in the first place. Yeah.
So my question, though, is legally, we can't get rid of our insurance, though. Could we? I mean, legally,
we could go down to a super high deductible HSA plan. We can't get
So the laws changed. So the laws changed, and now the IRS is not going to be asking you guys if you have had insurance. So that has changed. Yeah. So that part of the Accountable Affordable Care Act has actually changed. And so actually, it's still illegal. But the IRS doesn't ask you about it, and there's
I got you.
So that's a little kind of how that works.
And
now,
if they do, it's just a fee, right?
Right, and there's a fee.
And I bring it up because I'm sure a lot of people are even thinking that right now.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, that's one of the initial questions people ask me, and I tell them, you know what? Especially if you had it, you brought up high deductible plans. So most of my patients have high deductible plans, so they pay out of pocket everything up to $3,000 or $5,000. Right. So in most cases, they're paying for their health care through their insurance with their cash anyway. So I tell them, you can get better care for potentially cheaper if you come to me rather than paying out of pocket through your insurance.
So what is it's a same membership. What is the membership rates in?
So membership is $150 or $100. So I do home visits, and if you're at the $150 a month rate, then I'll do home visits.
Okay.
And then if you don't need the home visits and you'll see me in my clinic or a local park or something, then it's $100 a month.
So
if you do a home visit, do you bring the old school doctor bag? The little black doctor bag out in the Wild West.
I thought about getting
because
one.
That would be amazing.
But they're really hard to put on my bike too. So I like to ride my bikes to visits. So it's a little bit, but yeah, I do.
That's just how I think of home visits.
I do bring my stethoscope and I
so
do
it's
that.
Per you don't have a family.
So there is families are a little bit cheaper. So for kids are cheaper, and the second adult in a family is cheaper. So it kind of depends on that.
Because I would love, because you were even talking about allergies, right? Like I have horrible allergies. I go out and get tested, do the whole back deal, the whole 9 yards, and I come back negative for everything. Did I tell you this already? Maybe I think I might. We might have talked about it a little bit off
mic. We might have talked about it. So this is one of the things that I do help my patients with.
But it's ridiculous. I mean, I could barely walk on the sidewalk next to my grass without being an itchy mess.
You came back. He tested negative for everything, but still had a high histamine level.
And so there's probably something going on that in that process. That testing is not perfect. So testing is obviously imperfect. And so there could still be things going on that potentially are causing that reaction that we could look into, in a more deeper level as well.
Please save me.
Yeah.
Well, no, and then this doctor, he was like, wanted to start testing all these nose sprays or something. It's like, I could do that on my own. Like, let's get down to the real business. I mean, and it's probably something to do with gut health. It's probably something to do with that.
It could be the part of the food. I mean, your immune system is revved up. And if your immune system's revved up, then that's what's kind of creating that allergy. So your allergies are caused when you have this inappropriate response to the pollen or to the dog or whatever it is. You're having that inappropriate response from your immune system, and
or to the wife, right?
Potentially, that would be extremely rare.
The real problem.
But if you need a note for that, So if we can improve the function of your immune system, then hopefully those allergies can improve as well.
And you could prescribe medicine just like a normal doctor, right?
Yeah. So I prescribe medicine. So this is one of those really good things that kind of go through that stepwise process. So we would improve their nutrition, improve their sleep, kind of take care of it. Then there are some natural remedies that we can try first. And if those aren't working, then we go to prescription medications too.
Do you ever have to fire patients? Like, have you had? I
have not had to fire anybody.
Like, why would you fire somebody?
I have a grandma who is such a difficult patient that her doctors keep telling her she can't come back.
What? So I have not had to do that. And in general, I'm pretty good at helping manage those kinds of folks. And a lot of times, the reason why that patient is a difficult patient is because they're in a crappy system. So your grandmother, maybe she needs something, and they're not listening to her. They don't have time for her. Maybe she's just a difficult person. Maybe the system just set her up to not succeed. And so that's where I can work with folks. And for me, like, I see my patients as they need to be seen. So I don't have a limit on how many visits they can have or anything like that. And so if they need to come in, I have times patients will just drop in for 10 or 15 minutes, talk my ear off for a little bit, and then they're on their way. And sometimes that's all they need.
Do you like that though?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. For me, it's like I get to talk to somebody, I get to help them out. And like, what do? I just sat there and talked to people. Sounds great.
I just imagine you like in an office, like say we're in right now with Venetian blind, and you kind of peek out and you're like, you're like, Dorothy, Don't tell him I'm here. Don't tell him I'm here. You know?
Well, I don't even have a Dorothy to tell that to, so it's just me in the office. Yeah,
you don't have a receptionist.
I don't have a receptionist.
What?
Yeah, it's just me. They text me when they arrive, and I go get them out of the waiting room.
That's awesome.
Why would I pay a
awesome.
receptionist?
Yeah.
I want to make sure to talk about too. I'm noticing. I'm like, oh, I don't want to make sure to remember this. So when I first met you, we were at a networking event here at Access,
Right here.
the Access co-working space where we're recording. You had this like bag of eggs and you handed it, and I was like, okay, this guy is awesome. The fact that he's passing out, I mean, that's how
thank you.
That's how you got on the podcast.
Yeah,
No,
I
do you
mean,
know
I
what-
use the eggs. That's
Do you
true.
know what happened? He called me right after he met you, after he left the event, and he's like, oh my gosh, I just met the coolest guy. His business card was in a box of eggs.
No, it's legit, man. Then you bring some more eggs.
It was so great.
What's the story there?
Yeah, so
man?
the story behind the eggs. So for a long time, I've been trying to think about the best thing to kind of give away, right? When you go to a table or you set up at the farmer's market or something, everyone's always giving away something. And it's hard as a doctor. I don't really have anything to sell people. I don't have anything to engage that first communication. But I was at the farmer that I like a lot, who raises the meat that I eat. And they're called Utah Natural
Yeah, I was going to say,
Meat.
go ahead. Feel free to
so
plug
it's a great
him.
farmer. It's a family. They live out in West Jordan. They have a great little farm. And so it's called Utah Natural Meat and Dairy.
Are you pretty good friends with them?
I'm great friends
Because
with them.
I would love to connect with them and bring them on the
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm sure they
actually.
would love to come in. We'd have to schedule it around milking time and all of those
Or
kinds of
maybe
things.
we could even take
Would they
video
let us
down
help
there.
milk? I used to
Oh,
milk
yeah, for
cows
sure.
as a teenager.
We can milk
the
them.
dairy cows.
Anyways,
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
So I was at their house. I was actually doing a seminar on allergies, kind of on that topic. But so we were out there, and I was asking them, about buying eggs from them. And they said, oh yeah, great. We have way too many eggs right now. And I was like, why do you have so many eggs? And I guess the hens in the summer overproduce, and the demand in their shop goes down in the summer.
Why?
I have no idea.
People aren't eating as much eggs in the
I
summer?
guess like
seasonal?
they're maybe it's seasonal. I don't know. They're out there. I have no idea. But anyway, that's what's happening in the market. And so I asked them, what do you do with the leftover eggs? Oh, we feed them to our hogs. And I was like,
What?
don't feed your awesome eggs to the hogs. I will buy them from you.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do is that I would buy their excess eggs, and then I've been using them as giveaways. And it is the best thing to give away, because people are like, what are the eggs for? And I'm like, a healthy breakfast.
Yeah.
Right. But it allows me to kind of have that nice way to approach somebody. So I could say, would you like some eggs? And I can start talking about why I'm giving out eggs and why I think it's a healthy thing. It's supporting local farms, supporting kind of our local community. And for me, that's really important, that we kind of understand where our food comes from. And at the same time, it's this great way to kind of have this unique experience. I was looking for kind of this experience that would help people to realize that I really care about health. And I think hopefully, it seems like I might have found it in giving out the eggs, and it's just really fun.
No, I think it's a killer idea, and then you brought a couple dozen more tonight, and I'm just like, all right, I got to get this guy in the podcast every week. So
I feel like we need to do a family experiment. Don't hold me to this, but the families like throw away everything, get rid of electricity, and go on the road for a year.
What?
We should just get rid of our insurance for a year, sign up with you, and see how the year goes.
That would be
just
so-
experiment.
That's the thing is I want, because the thing is I want to
pause
okay.
just a second.
All right, sorry.
We're
Pause.
making family decisions right now.
sorry.
Before we do that, you have to understand. So I don't provide like emergency care or surgeries.
Right.
That's
Right.
true.
So,
huh?
so
you
what
need
I
it for
would,
the
if you do
kids.
want to do that, there are some catastrophic plans that you can get that are much cheaper. So I would recommend one of those, or I would use one of the kind of health share co-ops that are out there that can provide some backup plan. So that's what we can talk
Good call.
off the air.
Yeah.
But just,
Well, hey,
that's
for people who wanna
especially
do
with
it, this is good
kids.
information.
With kids are out on a skateboard.
Oh, no, for
they
sure.
need stitches. This
Yeah.
guy's not going to do stitches.
I do,
He
I
might.
suture. Yeah. So come into my office. I'll suture you right then.
Really?
Yep. Or if you're outside, I can come to you.
Where's your office at?
So my office is on 900 South and 2nd East. It's
Okay.
it's a new building.
Oh, so
called
right there by Jed's Barbershop.
yeah, exactly.
kinda.
It's right
Yeah.
down the street from Jed's.
Yeah,
so it's
man.
2 buildings over.
Yeah.
So it's a brand new building. It's called the Maven Building, and we have a couple different types of providers that are in that building, and then I'm in there as well.
And say again how long you've been there.
So I've been there since October. The building opened up in October, and that's when we moved in.
What do you like the most about what you do? I guess that's a big question. What do you like the best or the most?
What I love the most, I'll be honest, I love the most when I get to help somebody that has not had success for a long time, and they get success, and you can see their just like happiness of having that. So I've had multiple patients, and we're going back to gut health. I've had multiple patients that have had such severe diarrhea and problems that they couldn't even go to a movie. They can't go out with friends. They have so much anxiety in social situations that they'll have an attack right then. And I've been able to, in sometimes a pretty short time frame, change that so they can go to a movie. And they come back to the office and they tell me that, or they text me that, and it's like that's what makes it worth it. And I love talking to people. I love seeing that joy that they have, and that's probably my favorite thing by far.
What do you like the least? On that same note, there's got to be something you just
paperwork, right, is the worst.
I can respect that.
So I had way more paperwork in kind of my insurance system in the traditional model, but I still write charts. So so when I see my first patient, I have an 1.5-hour visit with them, and then I create this treatment plan that is oftentimes 3 or 4 or 5 pages long. And so creating that treatment plan is really important, but it's not my most favorite. I wish I could just tell people that and they would just instantly remember it, but that's not the way we work either. So I think creating that is probably the least favorite. And maybe like posting on social media. Trying to do the marketing stuff. That's not always my favorite. You got to hire
somebody for that, man.
I know I got to hire somebody, but I'm trying to penny pinch because it's
he's a startup.
I'm a startup.
You know what I could see?
I could see somebody like you being successful with a podcast.
Oh,
get a little recorder in your office, and then you put it in, and can even help market yourself to get.
I've thought about that a lot of times. Mm-hmm. This is part of my problem. Is I thought about a lot of cool marketing ideas, and then I get like a quarter of the way through them, and then I'm like, and then it fizzles. So what I'm actually doing is I'm working with my business coach. Her name's Lynn Christian, by the way. And she and I are working together to streamline my processes instead of like bouncing around and trying to do every little thing, is to kind of streamline that. But you're right. A podcast would be fantastic.
Or a YouTube
channel. And and I have some of those. I have quite a few videos that I've already put together and are out there for my patients. But those are the hardest thing. It's not hard to make that video or to do it. It's hard to like remember to do it on a consistent basis.
Q&A with Dr. Rick, man. People could like call up, voicemail,
Facebook Live.
Doing Facebook Lives. Yeah, definitely. I should set one of those up.
Oh, anyway.
That'd be awesome.
What are some of the other hobbies and interests when you're not playing doctor? Right?
Yeah, when I'm not playing doctor.
Tell me a little bit more about Rick here.
So I love all endurance sports.
Yeah.
So I love to trail run. I love mountain biking. My clinic, we actually sponsor a bicycle racing team. So I love to cycle, and so our team is called Salt Cycle Kestrel Wellness.
I saw that on Facebook when I became Facebook buddies with you.
So we have a great group of racers, and we go out to the races. That's really fun for me. And then I love CrossFit. I love lifting. Kind of gotten into kind of the functional fitness as well. And then I have a family. So my wife and 2 daughters. We love to travel and camp. My wife and I recently tried to do the hammock camping, where you take just a hammock out. You don't even have a tent. And we ran up to the top of, Mueller Park is in Bountiful.
Yeah.
By Elephant Rock. So we ran past there. We set up our hammocks and we slept for the night.
Is there like a community of people hammock campers?
Yeah, there's like the hammocking. It's like a new thing.
Yeah, this is the first I've ever heard.
You haven't heard of this? So
I've slept in a hammock. So
just Google hammocking and you'll see it. I mean, it's like it is taken off.
It's like movement or something. Like probably out with the fresh air, not in a tent.
Exactly.
Right?
And then you have to carry less, right? So it's the lightweight packing.
Let's talk about. Do you have with people listening? Right, we got a lot of people that move to Salt Lake, move to Utah. Where would you tell them is 1 or 2 places they can go camping? Like
1 or 2 places to go camping,
like that you would recommend.
So, are we doing car camping or are we backpacking?
A simple camping trip.
Okay, a simple car camping trip. I think if they're brand new to the city, the easiest thing to do is just go up Big Cottonwood Canyon and go to Spruces.
Okay,
I think it's close by. It's fantastic. Looks great up there, and that's where I would say, as a kind of a first thing. Or really, you could do is just drive up in the Uintas and stop at any of their fantastic campgrounds up there, and that's an easy way to do some car camping. As far as backpacking, I think a great short but fun trip is the Desolation Lake Trail. That's up Big Cottonwood also. Red Pine Lake is fantastic. There's all kinds of really great places for people to go.
Yeah, because people are always asking for recommendations, and so that's why I said, Dr. Rick can supply.
Yeah, that's right. Dr. Rick's camping recommendation. Do a video on it.
You have to go on all the trails and take footage of every trail.
Yeah, I would do that.
Fun way to go camping.
That would be then I would say the funnest part of my job is taking video of the trails that I'm going on.
Yeah.
Most memorable concert or sporting event that you've had the opportunity to go to?
When you said concert, the first thing that came into my mind, this is when I was out in New York, and there's a huge kind of concert, outdoor concert arena in a place called Jones Beach. And this is out on Long Island. Have you guys been there?
I haven't. No.
Okay,
I've lived out east.
So this is in the summer. The sun was setting and it was Counting Crows. And they just, I don't know if you've been to one of their concerts, but they are just awesome
love
on
the
stage.
music.
I mean, it's great music and they're just so fun and full of energy on stage. And the sun was setting and I was there with friends. It was just awesome. That was probably my most memorable concert experience.
Who would you most like to be stuck in an elevator with? If you could get stuck in an elevator for a little while, who would you like to be stuck with?
Oh man, I would just say my wife, honestly, and I know that might be mushy, but we don't get enough time to hang out with each other. She would definitely not say me though. So, but I think it would be time that there's always kids around. There's always things to do. If you're stuck on an elevator, there's nothing you can do except for just have like a great chat.
It's a
I think
forced
that would be a great
date
time.
night.
It is.
I like that. No one's ever said that before.
Yeah. I mean, I could pick somebody else, but I think that works for me. I mean, it's because and you guys know when you have kids, there's always kids around. There's always other things going on, but like just some quiet time together would be great.
You have to go run errands just to talk.
Yeah, go to Target. That's what we did the other weekend. We just went to Target together.
I see. I could get some advice from him about going to Target date nights. Well, doctor would anyway.
You can text me and ask me
offer
where
free
you should
dating
do
advice with your medical services?
It's part. I mean, why not? That would be fun.
Let's talk Salt Lake City.
Sure.
We talk about this really on every episode. If somebody was visiting Salt Lake City, what would you tell them that you guys got to check this out? You guys got to do this.
I don't even know what it's called, but it's it's a little park that has all those like weird statues in it.
Gilgal Garden.
Yeah. That place is wacky, but awesome.
You got to check it out.
And so part of like the like weirdness of our Salt Lake culture and like so the Mormon influence and kind of all that. It's just a really fun little park. It doesn't take that long to see, but it's kind of cool.
Here's a question I've been dying to ask you, Rick, is favorite local eating spots? Because I would imagine you like to eat a little healthy sometimes, right? But sometimes you
Well, it depends on your definition of what healthy is, right?
Yeah, well, obviously we've talked about that.
So, and I came prepared for this answer because I knew you were going to ask this because you ask everybody. So on my way over, I was like, I got to get a restaurant in mind that I go to.
I love it. I love it. People get so prepared. They get anxious.
Get prepared. So I think I have a good one. Sushi burrito.
Is it good?
Sushi burrito is so good.
Is it the one over on 800 South?
Yeah, so it's right by my office.
Yeah, okay.
So I go there quite often, and it's great. It's fast. The staff they make great sushi, and it's really easy to eat, and it's a lot of sushi, and I love it.
See, and I don't think anyone's ever recommended that place.
No, it's a great place. No. It's a great little place. And then otherwise, I think best barbecue in town. I like barbecue, and I go to R&R Barbecue for that. So.
Very good.
Those are my two recommendations.
Have you been to Pat's Barbecue?
I have been to Pat's.
And you like R&R better?
I like R&R better.
Yeah, no, and that's
but the original R&R, like none of the like ones out in South Jordan or whatever. I like the go to the
one on 600 South there. I think it is about Third West. Yeah. And I'm with you. I agree with you on that one because I think what happens with a lot of these businesses that try to expand is they lose that initial thing that grabbed people because they try to mass produce it too much, and that's why I lean more to Pat's more than R&R because he's got that little intimate spot right there. I don't even know the exact address. Was that over by Commonwealth or 2100 South there?
I guess we should go together.
Maybe
get some Pat's.
We could do Pat's at lunch, and then we can go to R&R for dinner. We can do a little barbecue.
Or we could go 2 days in a row. Maybe we go to
too much barbecue in one day.
Usually when I go to barbecue, I get my meal, but I always get something to take home.
That's true.
Right? So
solid point.
You always have to have a takeaway.
Very cool. As we kind of wrap this up here, is there anything you wanted to make sure we brought up about your business, about Kestrel Wellness? What's the name even? I mean, we didn't even talk about the name.
Yeah.
Kestrel. Where's
that?
So
Kestrel is a small falcon.
Okay.
And so it's named after an American kestrel. So my wife and I, we like to look at birds. And when we were trying to find the name of our kind of the business, we were trying to think of something that would kind of give that imagery of fast and flying and powerful, but also something that was free and just really representative of what I wanted to do, kind of being on the move. And so the Kestrel just really kind of fit that bill. And it's really a great name because it's easy to spell, it's easy to say, and all those other things that come with a name. So
what would you tell listeners that want to find out more about you, or like they want to come? Hey, this might be an option. Maybe I want to come to this guy and get a. I mean, what's the best first step?
So, best first step is actually go to my website that has all the information. It's kestrelwellness.com. So KESTREL wellness.com has all the information there, and you can set up a discovery call. So because I think it is an investment to choose me as your doctor. And before we do that, I would love to get you on the phone or in person or kind of telemedicine to talk to you about what I would be able to offer you with what you have going on. So set up a discovery call and then we can chat. And honestly, for any of the listeners that are coming on, so I usually have an enrollment fee. But for anybody that comes on and says, hey, I listened to the podcast and I'm Salt Lake, if they come on, I'll waive their enrollment fee. So that's $100 value for listeners of I Am Salt Lake.
Well, let's see if anybody actually takes you up on that.
Well, we will. That'll be fun. We'll find out.
But if we sign up with you, do we get the $100 waived?
We can talk offline about you guys and what I could potentially help you out with.
Yeah, no.
Actually, your website though is one of the most impressive websites I've seen. There is so much information on it about what you do.
Oh, thank you.
And that's not normal. Usually, they're kind of a bait and hook.
Yeah, no, that frustrates me so much. I put it all out there. The price, exactly what. So transparency, I think, is a super important thing for me and my patients. And if you want transparency, come to me because that's what you have.
Yeah, I totally believe it because I still haven't been able to get through all the information on your website.
Well, maybe there's too much then.
No, never too much.
Not too
never
much.
too much.
That's what Chrissy's specialty is, web design.
Yeah.
And so her complimenting your website is a good
big deal.
thing.
Great, thank you.
It doesn't look like it was built in 1998.
Yeah, well,
that's true.
That's a
lot of websites. You know how many websites I find that look like they were built in like the late 90s?
Oh, yeah.
Or like they just like kestrelwellness.blogspot.com.
Yes.
That would go over really well.
Like, it's not very hard to register a domain. Anyway, let's wrap this show up. Anything else, Chrissy? Do you want to ask him? I feel like I've been a microphone hog today.
Oh, well, I love your guys' banter tonight. I'm just enjoying it. Is there one piece of life advice that you would leave with our listeners?
Oh, absolutely. Sleep more.
Okay. I hate sleep. I
love sleep.
How can I learn to love sleep?
I have never had anybody ask me that question before.
Really?
So you don't like to sleep?
It's okay. It's not that I don't like to sleep. Like last night I passed out and just went to bed, right?
You don't like making the time to sleep. You'd rather be doing something else more productive?
It's not most of the time
Tell me how you feel about sleep.
Okay. So I'm the type of person where it's like if I could do other things instead of sleep, I will find a reason to do those other things, right?
Right.
And a lot of, having a
There's
baby.
a lot of people just like that.
Yeah.
And that's why my advice is sleep more.
Well, and then I think the big problem is for a while there, I'm glad that the whole entrepreneur thing is kind of like, the whole grind, we could sleep when we're dead and sleep 4 hours a night and blah, 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 the whole Gary V thing, right? Like, I love the guy, but I don't respect his things of no sleep, right? And I think we do need to sleep, but unfortunately, I need to tell my brain, you know what, Chris, I could work on this project tomorrow. So
I think for you is internalizing the importance of sleep. I think you're probably the type that doesn't necessarily just take someone's advice and just do it. You have to internalize that this is what I want to do. This is something that's important to me. So
this guy's good.
Yep.
So
this guy is good.
For you, that was where we start.
Yeah.
Is what is it about sleep that can really show this big benefit? And we can show you that, hey, if you sleep a little bit more, you're going to be more productive. You're going to be healthier. All these different things that are going to come out of that sleep. Then maybe you'll internalize it. Same thing with keto, right? So you probably didn't do it for a long time. You didn't do it until you saw that it was the benefit, and you really got to internalize that.
Yeah, I need to. I am getting better since I started, spending time with Chrissy, dating, and then we got married.
I am the worst influence because I'm completely the opposite of everything.
Yeah, it's tough.
I love sleep. I'll sleep all day.
I definitely get more sleep now. I think with having a baby, believe it or not, a lot of people said I get less sleep, but I get more sleep because.
Well, how much are you sleeping right now?
6 hours, 5 hours?
5 to 6 hours a night. But what were you sleeping before? Maybe 4 hours a night?
Well, because especially when I started incorporating going to the gym.
Right.
I get up most mornings at 5 a.m. to go to the gym because I got to get gym time in because I'm typically home all day with the baby.
Right. Before the other duties, you got the gym time. So then your gym, sometimes that's what happens a lot for folks too, is they sacrifice sleep for gym time. And that can work short term, but your long-term health is definitely going to be improved by adding that sleep in. And honestly, you could even let the exercise kind of be pushed aside until you get your sleep really, really well done. And so I would say, for you're at 5.5 to 6. Really slowly working up to 6.5 or 7 would be ideal. And you could do that over the period of quite a while. But honestly, you're going to see benefits of that long term. The short term benefits will be there too, where you'll have more clear thoughts. You'll be able to be more productive. The more sleep that you get, the better you are to stick to your habits as well. So there's a lot of benefits for food. They actually done this really interesting study that showed the more sleep that you had, the better you stuck to what you wanted to do with nutrition as well. So you're able to make better decisions kind of overall when you have more sleep.
Well, and I agree. I agree. The days I get a little more sleep, I'm a little more like I can focus better. I feel like I'm there. I also feel like, do you guys ever find when you don't get a lot of sleep, you want to put more food in your mouth too, right?
Yeah, that's a very you're going to put more carbohydrates specifically.
Yeah.
With less sleep. So
your body's trained to think you need more energy, so you need to eat more.
Or you start pounding more caffeine, which isn't very good either for you.
Yeah, then you just get nauseous and shaky and your whole day is shot.
Anyway, one more time, how can people, what's the website, Facebook, run off those real quick.
Yeah, so I'm Rick Henriksen. I am a family doctor. I do integrative primary care, and go to kestrelwellness.com to learn more information.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick. I want to bring you back on already. I want to do a part 2 very soon. But until then, you guys reach out. Like you heard him, he'll waive the fee, whatever.
The enrollment fee. Say you're coming from I'm Salt Lake.
So go take advantage of that, guys. Anyway, thanks, Rick.
Many thanks again to Rick Henriksen for joining us on this episode of the podcast and sharing his story. You can head on over to our website at iamsaltlake.com/339 for all the links and for you to get in touch with him and find out more about Kestrel Wellness.
And remember what Rick said. If you mention that you heard it on the podcast, he's going to waive some fees. So go check it out, you guys. And before we completely close out of this episode, I want to, of course, let you know that you can now rent our podcast studio here at Access Co-working Spaces. So you can get started on your podcast without worrying about buying the right equipment. You can just rent our podcast studio for an hour and get some recording done. This was actually the biggest frustration for me, you guys, when I started up this podcast, is I didn't know what equipment to buy. Now you don't have to worry about it. I got it all here for you to rent, for you to check out. Get in touch with me. My email address is chris@iamsaltlake.com, and I'll, of course, give you more details about all that.
I just want to thank our amazing sponsors again for this episode, Market Source Real Estate, Product Power Up, and Five Wives Vodka. And a huge thank you to Access Co-working Space and their hospitality with our podcast studio. And most of all, many thanks to you, the listener, for coming back week after week.
Hey, you guys have a great week. Get out and enjoy Salt Lake City. Of course, support local, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And good night, Grammy.